Today, we just want to shout out, thank DoSpace. This is, I think, about our 6th or 8th event with DoSpace. So thanks, DoSpace, for facilitating and supporting this. I'm Jim Reif with the Nebraska Enterprise Fund. We are a CDFI, a community development finance institution that provides training, coaching, and has a revolving loan fund available for businesses and small businesses across Nebraska. And we'll be opening in Southwest Iowa very soon. With that introduction, I'd like to introduce our key speaker today. BC Clark is also with the Nebraska Enterprise Fund for over 4.5 years now. She has decades of experience in all sorts of small business, as well as working with the Fortune 500 company. And she's going to be talking about something that's becoming extremely important, and that's record keeping. I know nobody thinks of record keeping as exciting, but it's certainly become even more important now that we have things like PPP and EIDL and governor's grants and so forth. So with that, BC, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Okay, and welcome everybody. Record keeping is something that I think a lot of people before the pandemic didn't think it was really important. But with the pandemic, they found out that it became extremely important to them and they didn't have a system. So today we're just going to kind of go through some of the things that could get you on track, because if you're running a business, you should be tracking things. You should be keeping good records and making sure that you're doing it in a disciplined manner. And that's really what record keeping is all about. So let me get to my screen here. Sorry about that. Oh, there we go. Okay, great. All right, so today we're going to talk about record keeping, the concept of it, why it's important, and then being able to identify some of those practices, some of the rules, and some of the tools that are available for you so that you can do this as a small business and making sure that you're keeping things in a proper manner. And so we all know that with this pandemic, there were so many individuals that were not eligible to get the PPP and the EIDL simply because they didn't have all of their records intact. So you want to make sure you don't go through that. There's many tools that you can use, some electronic and some to just get started. You might even want to just use some typical things like just getting an expanded folder to start keeping things together. So today we're going to just kind of explore some of those things. So as a small business, and it doesn't matter whether you're an LLC, whether you're LLP, S Corp, all small businesses should keep good records, and you should be able to access them, retrieve them in an orderly manner as well. So we're going to talk about some of the things you can do and learn. Again, so what is record keeping? Again, we talked about being orderly and disciplined. Well, it's exactly that. It's almost as if you're keeping a journal on your business, right? But you have suppliers, you have customers, you have vendors, you have employees, so you have all those different records. So in some cases, you may just have folders with that information in there. But keep it orderly, keep it disciplined, make sure you're updating when you need to, and making sure that you keep it on an ongoing basis. It's almost like maintaining your computer or maintaining your refrigerator. You want to make sure that you keep good records, not only in your business, but at home as well. So, and we'll get into more of that. Now, I hope that the ones who are on, that they did get a participant's guide. We did send it out, but if you didn't, you will get it after this, and I'll make sure. But this guide that you'll get, if you don't have it already, it has a lot of information in it. So even once you get off the call, you'll be able to go through and look at some things that you can do to get going. Here it talks about, you want to make sure that you're tracking your operations, what things are going on, what processes and systems that you have. All that should be documented, because if a new employee comes in, they need to be able to take that document and be able to get right in stride. So you're not spending a whole lot of time training, but you do have some initial documents that they can look at. Planning, making sure that you're planning the work, making sure it's done properly, making sure that you have everything in order, and keeping track of that type of stuff. If you're construction and you're doing contracts, a restaurant, you have licenses and permits. You want to make sure that those documents are handy, because if the city comes around and they're looking for your permits and they're not posted, you don't want to have to go through a bag trying to find where they are. That happened to me once. And so I just want to make sure that you make sure you keep all of those things in a place where you can retrieve them right away. Your payroll and personal documents, you want to make sure that you keep those up. You know, you have to pay taxes on those every 3 months. So you want to make sure you can do that in an orderly manner. And whether you have a software that's going to track this for you, or if you're doing it by hand, you just want to make sure you can do it so that you have records of it and you can retrieve it. Okay. And I know some of this feels like, well, I think I know that. But anyway, these customer records, your sales records, any correspondence that you have, sometimes if you go into court, this becomes very, very critical information. But if you don't have anything documented, then it's like you're going in saying, this is what we did. And it becomes a he said, she said, we said, and you don't want to do that. Making sure that you're tracking your inventory to make sure that you have you're not over ordering, or that you have stuff that's not moving. So if you're not tracking that stuff, a lot of times, you know, you have stuff sitting on the shelves that either should not be ordered again, or you should just check and see if that's something that you need to change. And I don't want to go too fast. So if anybody have questions or you have something that you want to know, just put it in the chat and Jim will be able to look at it. So we come to our first discussion point. Now, for those of you that do have your participants guide, it's asking you a couple of questions. And the 4 questions are, you know, to identify any records that you already keep, any planning records, any legal records, so your permits, your contracts, and those type of things. Tax records, are you keeping those? And then the number 5 says they want you to think about, you know, if you don't have those, this is at least initially where you need to start. And then if you do have those, what else do you need to add? And you can take some time and look at that list that you have and try and see, now, do I need to add perhaps my vendors? You know, I need to have my vendors on here. I may have to do something with my customers. I may not have a customer system that's technical, but I can definitely have something maybe in Excel where I can keep track of everything. So it's not like you have to start with some expensive piece of software to do this. You can actually start by just using manila folders or file folders that can keep you on track and keep you organized. So that's one thing that we can look at. All right, so let's go on here. All right, so some of the things they were talking about, records and things that you should keep. So we're looking at this. I know you have time cards if you have employees, probably. You have your personnel files. And what it's telling us here is that these are the number of years that we should keep these particular files. Your time cards, your personnel files, your employees that come in and going, any contracts that you have, inventory. So they're saying 2 years for time cards you should keep. Personnel files should be 3. As you can see, it goes down. Contracts and inventory is 4 years. Any personal insurance records, checks and payables, all of that 5 years. And payroll, they said you should keep for 6 years, because you never know when you're going to have to need that. And once you that 6 years rolls around, if you're still a little nervous about maybe some of that, you can always roll that on to something where you can keep it in on an external drive in case you have to retrieve it at some point in time. And for the retirement plans, the annual statements, and any auditor reports, they say you want to keep those forever. So that's something that you'd want to probably keep on an external file so that you can always retrieve it whenever you want to. And that can be done simply with an external drive or something that you may have in the cloud. All of those things would be appropriate for that. So some of the tools that we're going to talk about today is some really simple things. If it's a very small business, you have maybe 1 to 2 employees, and you're saying, I don't want to get into a lot of money. Well, it's so easy, because what you can do actually, now they talk about Tickler System, but let's talk about some of the paper tools that are available to you. Expanding folders, the expandable folders, where you have different slots that you can have organized all of the things that you need. Like at the list we just looked at, you can, you know, have 1 for your employees, 1 for your customers, 1 for sales, and on down the line for whatever it is, and making sure that those are updated and you're keeping accurate data in there. Of course, you have the Tickler system. You have computer systems that will do the same thing. Again, if we're not trying to get into a whole lot of money, there are some things you can do that can be just as disciplined and organized without spending a whole lot of money. Now, they're going to talk about cloud computing, which is the new thing. I shouldn't say the new thing, but it is where you can access it at any time. Okay, so a lot of times on a server, you have to be somewhere close where you have to get on your computer. But if you're at home and that server's somewhere else and you can't log into that, if it's in the cloud, you can access it from anywhere. So they go through a number of things here. Your accounting, file hosting, all of that can be done in the cloud, and they continue. But again, they talk about the simple paper tools, file folders, hanging folders, having a cabinet for the storage of all your files. You can do that as well. And I talked earlier about the accordion folder or expandable folder. Those are great as well. And we have to remember, we don't have to start big, but we need to start, and we should start now. It's an opportunity now while things are kind of getting back, where you're trying to reopen or get started, that you want to make sure you start off fresh. And so if you weren't keeping records before, this is a great time to get started. And again, you can take an accordion folder, label it with each of your lists, and making sure that those items go into those particular folder, and just checking and making sure they don't get crowded with a lot of stuff that you don't really need. So you want to make sure that you have that. Okay. And when I think about Jim, you want to talk about the Tickler system a little bit? I think you know more about the Tickler system than I do.
Yeah, sorry. A Tickler system really is as simple as setting it up in your phone or on your calendar. And so, you know, you have quarterly taxes due. Maybe they're due the 15th of October and 15th of April and 15th of whatever July. And you would maybe set up and say, okay, I need 15 days to get that ready. So you'd say September 30th, you'd have a little reminder that goes off that it's time to get quarterly taxes ready. Maybe your license is due once a year in December. So you'd set that up maybe November 21st that says, remember to apply to the city to get my newest renewal. Same for insurance. You can also do that for somebody that you say you want to call back. And okay, I'll call you back in 2 weeks. Set up your Tickler system, set up your phone to send a reminder in 2 weeks that, okay, so it's what, the 8th today, and we want to call back on the 21st, let's just say. So you'd have a reminder in your phone that to call BC on the 21st or 22nd. It's as simple as that. It's nothing super fancy, but it's something that jogs your memory, and you put it in your phone, your calendar, or you can get all, I'm sure there's apps and things for that too, but it can be as simple as what you've got on your phone and just reminds you what to do.
And that's an important point, Jim, because I think a lot of times, you know, we write stuff down, and if it's not in our calendar where we're getting a bing or a ting to say, hey, we got a message, you know, you get busy and you forget it. So I think the Tickler system is really good, especially starting out. It doesn't cost anything, just your time to set it up, right? So I think that's good.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So in addition, there's so many other things, faster and easier, so you can get, you know, things that you can set up on your internet transmissions to help you. A lot of businesses and government agencies allow use of internet. So, you know, you can use the internet for quite a few things that if it keeps you, and you can set up things on the internet, like you can set up to send out messages at a certain time through your social media and that type of stuff. But you can learn even to set up a system on your computer where, and it could be just a simple, it could be a short Excel thing that can send you out, that can remind you about stuff too. So other than that Tickler system, there's so many ways you can make sure that you're keeping track of things. So you want to know more about that. So just learn more about the computer system and what it offers to you, because there are some apps on there that you'll be able to use that can keep you on track as well. Backing up your files on the computer, that's extremely important, because if there's a crash of your system or your server and you don't have any backups, or you have a backup that happened 3 months ago, it will be a lot harder to try and get everything up to the last 90 days. But if you have a consistent time of backing up all of your files, then you'll have the latest version. And most people try to do it at least once a week, and some people do it like, you know, every 4 or 5 days. So, because if anything happens, they're able to at least retrieve back 4 or 5 days. And it's easier to do that than trying to to go and collect and remember and pull together 90 days worth of stuff. So looking at your systems and making sure that they're properly set for you, that you can, that you're getting the best work out of them. So, because that's all a part of record keeping as well. Understanding my backups and keeping those handy, making sure that you keep everything set up so that you have these reminders to help you do things, but also set up some automatics so you don't have to worry about it. And you just know that it's being backed up every 2-3 days. So you have at least 3 days up to that third day to have good information. So those are things that sometimes we don't think about that has anything to do with record keeping, but it does. They're talking here too about the internet store, how you can manage and process data. A lot of this software you can purchase if you want to, but there's some that's inexpensive, but there's also some things you can find that are free, but you have to search for them. Just look for them on, you can Google almost everything, I'm telling you, and you'll be surprised at some of the things you'll find that can help you be organized in making sure that your records are being kept disciplined and in order. More information about accounting and cloud computing. A lot of the software is usually you can purchase through accounting services, but a lot of times you don't have to buy anything. No, with the cloud computing, there's no upgrades because everything is done in the cloud. So you don't have to worry about, oh, this is the new version, so I'm gonna need to do this. No, everything goes in the cloud and you can access it from anywhere. So those are advantages. You can use that. If it's kind of worth that to you, you can afford that, then do that. There's no loss of data because it's there. If your computer crashes, it's in the cloud. Like I just talked about a few minutes ago, if it crashes and you have to worry about a backup, well, if it's in the cloud, you don't have to worry about that. And there's some really inexpensive things you can do in the cloud. I know that there's some really expensive ones, but there are some things some software that you can find that will keep records and track stuff for you in the cloud. And you can just Google some of those and look under accounting tools. That's where you'll find a lot of that. But that way, again, we talked about you can access your data from anywhere. So you don't have to worry that, oh my goodness, I'm in Timbuktu and I just don't have access. Well, if it's in the cloud, you can have access wherever you are. And that's a good point to think about too. A lot of times too with file hosting, you can share, when it's in the cloud, you can share it with your colleagues, your clients. You can, whether they're large files, it doesn't matter because everything can go there and you don't have to worry about a storage issue. There's no loss of files when the computer crashes, as they stated earlier. But then you can access it, and it's sometimes it's about getting to that data right now. And if it's in the cloud, you don't have that problem. You could just go there and get it. And again, they talked about some free and some fee-based options. So you look at the one that works for your business. There's all types of businesses. There's some businesses that may have one employee. There's some that may have 5, 10, and on up. But you get the software or the types of apps and tools that will work for your business. Don't spend a lot of money because you think you have to. You don't. So look at your business, your type, your size, and make sure that what you're doing is exactly using what you need for your business. You don't want to have to pay more than you have to. Did you want to expound on that a little bit, Jim?
Sorry, I was on mute. No, I think that's spot on. There's so many resources. Just be aware that it's your option and understand your budget and find the one that works best for you. There's so many ways to do this, and sometimes you start with one, and as your business gets more sophisticated, you're going to evolve into a different one, and that's fine too.
Yes, yes. And I think when we talk about all of this, the record keeping part of this is so important because when you're running a business, it's almost like, I want to say that, when you purchase a home, you purchase that home, and everything is, but you have things that you have to do to maintain that home. It's the same in your business. So like you have to make sure that you have gas and water and those things, and you're making sure that those are being paid on time. Again, when they talked about your business and your personal, those are things that are relatable. So in your business, you may have rent, you'll have employees. All those things need to have those records kept, and making sure that you're maintaining those records so that they're orderly, that you can access them. So it's just when I think about disasters and things that happen, a lot of times, if it's a physical disaster that your building is messed up, that's when cloud computing can be really good. But you want to make sure that you're able to access stuff if you need it. And I think that was the biggest thing for a lot of people this time. So here they're talking about software, business software that can evaluate your business needs. And it's good to do that. Even if you don't have software to do it, you can sit, and this is a good time to look at your business, look at what you're running, look at your processes. Are you running as efficiently as you can? Are you losing money with inventory that's not moving? So sometimes you have to sit down and you need to be able to look at that business and see exactly do I have enough products? Are these products going, or are they just sitting there? Am I bringing in the right stuff? What's the trend right now with my business? So if you're not asking those questions and looking at what's actually happening in your operations, that's another part of keeping good records, because you need to know what's working. If you're too busy within the business and are not able to do that, sometimes things get lost. Uh, you know, maybe something could be done a little different. Maybe there's a trend that might work better, and so you want to always look at your business, look at your financials. Can I make more money than I made last year? Do I have goals set to do that? With record keeping, you can set goals like that to say, well, I made, 100,000 this year. My goal next year is 200,000. So what do I need to do in my processes that I have right now? And with my organized records, how can I make sure I get to that, make that goal happen? And set and write down out some things that could enhance that to make sure that you're meeting your targets financially. Do I need to hire more or hire less employees? So you need to make sure that you're always looking at your business, your size and type of business, and making sure that you're making the decisions based on your business, not on anyone else's. So it helps to look at what things look like. Every now and then you need a new shirt or you need a new pair of pants. So in your business, what do you need to change? What are some of those things that might work if better than what I have right now? So again, we're talking about inventory tracking and manufacturing and e-commerce. All these things are important. If you're not tracking that inventory, you can lose sight and lose money. All right. And in a manufacturing business, everything is important. I mean, you're looking at different types of things and ounces and packing material, all of this, all those things have to go into that manufacturing business. E-commerce, am I putting everything online, and what do I need to do to make it better? How can I drive people to that site? So when we look at these things, again, all this is important, and it is all under record keeping. So if you didn't think it was, it really is. Do I need, are there multiple users that can access this? How many employees do I have? What do I need to keep track of? So when I think of record keeping, I'm thinking all the time of keeping track of what's going on. What's coming, what's going, and am I making sure that I'm documenting what I have, what I need to do, and where I'm going with that. So, I mean, it's really important that you keep track of those things. And that's why record keeping becomes something that you're going to put more attention to going forward. Is there something with my particular industry that is specialized that I have to make sure I'm getting the right certificates and things for? Is there certain pieces of equipment that I have to have that's specialized for this industry? Looking at your online options. Do I need to go put most of my stuff online now that we've had a pandemic and I'm working online more? What things do I need to change in my business that can maybe grow it now that I'm online? And then how do I get online? What things do I need to do to put my business online if it's that type of business that I can put online? And then just think about anything else that you might want to add to that. Because if right now with things are kind of slow going, I think people thought that everything was going to run and people were going to run back really quick, and that's not quite happening. So we need to look at our businesses and see, what do we need to do to maintain that business, what things we need to change, and how we should do that as we do that. So a lot of times that's the things that we have to do. All right, so let's look at some of the communication and stuff like that. This is more software and things that they're looking at, how to communicate with your clients and employees, how to talk with your suppliers, vendors, contractors. I know during the pandemic, a lot of customers had ordered things and all of a sudden they couldn't get them because of the pandemic, and making sure that you're communicating with your customers to say, during the pandemic, my supplier wasn't shipping. So keeping that communication going, whether you're using email or phone or whatever, you got to keep those things going so that people know what's happening with your business. A lot of people was not communicating and people thought that they had closed. So a lot of things that, this is all part of record keeping, making sure that you're keeping in contact with everyone, using whatever you need to, your computer, webmail, whatever. But keep good records, and you do that by, even if you're creating an email filing system, you can do that where if it's suppliers, they go into this inbox, if it's customers, they go into that inbox, and that can be done right on email. So it's not like you have to spend a lot of money for this. And I just want to give you some tools that where you don't have to go out and spend a whole lot of money if you're a small business, because you're watching your dollars. You want to make sure that you're putting them in the right place. So always just take a look at your size and your type of business and find out what you need for tools, and then access those tools and making sure that you can keep your records in order and intact. Okay? I mean, that's the best way that I think that you can do that and stay on track with things. And just more tracking of information. We just talked about this, about keeping track of your clients and your inventory. And maybe doing a matrix where you have rows and columns that you can see better. Whatever works for that business is what you want to use. And you want to look at your financials. I know we had several incidences where clients didn't even have their financials. They didn't understand them. And so when they were trying to file for PPP and didn't realize that there were certain things that they didn't have, they kind of lost out on the first round. So understanding your financials, keeping good records, and doing those things is really important. So you want to make sure that you kind of do that and keep things in order. Record keeping is not hard to do. It's just simply getting started and doing it. And you can start small. I think you heard Jim talk about the Tickler System. So, just setting in reminders. Okay, every week I want to update this. I'm going to go and look at my customers. Have I made contact with them? So you want to keep in contact. But you can buy software that tracks different financial records, your expenses, your sales, inventory. That's available to you. But you could also set up an Excel file and program it so that it can keep track as well until you can afford to purchase software that can do that for you, right? And there's many advantages. If you have a particular software, it does reduce errors, right? You can get it done faster. It may or may not be inexpensive, and you could have it organized a little better. And this is just kind of a screen talking about what some of the advantages of having business software accounting. Again, if you can't afford it, you can definitely set up your Excel spreadsheet so that it's collecting the data for you, and that way you are tracking that information. So on our point number 2, you want to take some time, and for those who have the participation guide, you have an area where you can write in. So you want to take some time and just think about your accounting system. Do you have an accounting system right now? And if you don't, what is it that you need to do, right, to get one started? But if you have one, write and describe how it is right now. Write the steps of it. What are you doing right now, okay? And then look at how can it be improved. What can I do to improve this? What do I need to add to it so that I'm getting the numbers or the exact status of what I'm looking for? And then what specific improvements that you need to think about? What things have you thought about that you need to add into that accounting system that's not in it right now? So you can take some time and you can write that out and kind of go through that and just see. And I bet you'll find that whatever that accounting system is doing right now, it may not have everything that you want in it. So just go back through and look and see if it's giving you everything that you need in that software, and that you're able to track all the things you need to track, because that's the key. Making sure that whatever you're doing, that it's tracking the things you need, and you're able to access it and use it when you need it. So there are a lot of trainings for on trying to get into different software, and there's a lot of classes that are offered by so many resources that we have here in Nebraska. Some of them are listed here, and I want to tell you that the Nebraska Enterprise Fund, we have workshops all the time on everything. So not only record keeping, but cash flow management. We have borrowing basics, business resumption, business planning. We have workshops where you can actually write your business plan in 4 hours. And if you want more information on any of this, just check with us. I do have a contact sheet that's here. So what they're saying to you now is that start now with something that works. So no matter what that is, you want to start right now and make sure that you get going on this. And you can always change it as time comes on. But if you're not doing anything right now and you're running a small business and you say, well, I'm a small business, I really don't need to keep records. Yes, you do. And so it's important that you do for many reasons. If anything happens, you have no backup. You can't back up anything. If you need a loan, there's no backup records to show that you made money or that you were running this business as a business as opposed to a hobby. So they'll want to see your records tell the story of your business. And so record keeping is very important. And so you want to make sure that you're keeping track and you're recording your business and making sure that your documents are up to date. So some of the key points from this was that to make sure that you use record keeping tools. And again, we talked about different types, file folders, you can use Excel. For your type of business, choose what works for you. Whatever tool that is, use that tool, but keep it up to date and make sure that you're doing it in a disciplined manner and making sure that you're doing it all the time. And then evaluate your business needs before going out to purchase any software, whether it's for accounting or whatever. If you're a real small business, does it make sense to just have a bookkeeper that can help you manage everything? Or does it make sense for you to manage it yourself using QuickBooks? We offer QuickBooks training 3, 4, 5 times a year. So if that's it, and basically if you have a small business, you can run your whole small business on QuickBooks. Jim, why don't you expound on that a little bit?
Which part?
QuickBooks training.
Yeah, we're doing several different types of QuickBooks training, actually. One, and we have a session coming up soon. It'll be a 2-day session where we have an expert QuickBooks trainer come in. He will set up a computer lab. Everybody will have access to a computer and to QuickBooks on that computer. And at the end of that 2 days, you'll gone through the startup of your business all the way to any aspect that you have in QuickBooks, how to set up billing, how to set up automatic invoicing, how to track this and track that. We like our trainer a lot because he makes QuickBooks come to life. He's almost gives you a mini MBA in that session. Another program that we do have, it's a little more restricted, but we do at some points in time have one-to-one QuickBooks sessions too, where the same trainer comes in with a small group and helps you set up your very own QuickBooks for that. But the point being, it's really important that you're running something. We saw a lot of small businesses, as BC alluded to, either lose out or be delayed in their PPP applications and idle applications because they weren't running software, they weren't running their businesses and using things properly. So we just ask you, make sure that you do get things start. And it doesn't need to be overly fancy, but get started. You can start on an Excel sheet if nothing else. Keep track of what you're doing. That way when opportunities come, you're going to have your numbers and be able to prove those numbers.
Yes, that's really important. And again, we just the importance of it is we saw so many that were not ready and did not have things available. But just top 3 key points too is that as a small business, you want to make sure that you're tracking a significant amount of information, and that's important because again, those records tell the story of your business. So instead of you having to say, oh, well, I did this, I did that, and there's no records, you can prove what you've done. And you want to make sure that you're able to do that. So regardless whether you use a computer system or what have you, you can, again, this can be until you can get to a point where you can have a software doing it, do it manually, with folders and keeping track. That's really, really important. And then, just in all the things that you look at, just look at what works for your business. That's the main thing. But whatever you do, start now. If you don't have a system, you want to definitely start now. Don't wait to do that because you never know what's going to happen in a month or the next month. So it's just a lot of things. By being prepared in the event of anything happening and having your records in order, then you're set. You can access them and you'll be able to do what you need to do. And that's why this class became kind of important to a lot of people. So that's why we're doing it now. But yes, so in summary, are there any questions that individuals would have? And if you don't, that's okay. I mean, you can always send us, I'll put our contact information up in a bit. But if there's any final questions you have, and you can write out or even just state what you think you've learned today that you didn't know. And you don't have to do that. That's kind of up to you. And then you can always evaluate the training. You can put it in chat or whatever you want to do. If this was something that worked for you, that's always important too for us as trainers to know how we can improve on what we're doing. So make sure that you leave us a line. So a couple things that I just want to go over in conclusion that you learned about today. We talked about what record keeping is and how it's important for your business. We talked about some of the basic practices and tools of record keeping. We also talked about about tracking and planning and making sure that we're keeping track of our legal documents and our taxes and our permits and things like that. And we talked about the benefits of record keeping, how software can help us in our record keeping, and also how the software training is also available to you. But remember, looking at your size and type of business, get the tools that work for your business, and you should be okay. And here's our contact information. We have offices in 4 locations. We have our main office in Oakland, Nebraska. We have an office here in Omaha, one in Norfolk, and one in North Platte. And I put the extensions, so wherever you are and you need to contact any of us, we're all available to talk with you. I put our extensions there as well. And just look for the next trainings. We have them all the time. Our website is www.nebbiz.org. And our emails are usually our name. So for me, it's like bcc@nebbiz.org. Jimr @nebbiz.org. So use all of those. Use us. We're available, and we do training throughout the whole state. We have the whole state of Nebraska where we're training and doing loans. Our loans for small businesses go up to $150,000. With mentoring and coaching. So if you just want to brainstorm, we're available for that as well. So I want to offer that to you. I hope that the class gave you some more insight and forethought on how you can record and keep good records. So just let us know if you need us. Jim?
Yeah, BC, I think somebody said there's a question somewhere, so let me see if I can find it.
You do more just to look in chat. Oh, it looks like there may be.
I'm looking in chat.
Okay, you don't see anything? I don't know if it's on Facebook, and I'm not into that. I'm not in Facebook right now.
How do you find out about the QuickBooks training? Gary, the best thing, just email BC, and you can see her. She's setting it up right now, and she'll have all the details.
Will do, yeah. And my information is right there. So just call that 685-5500 extension 201 if you want to talk to me. If you want to email me, it's bcc@nebbiz.org.
Super.
And Gary said he did receive the guide, so that's awesome. Well, I just want to thank you guys for being here today. And again, if you think of something after we're off, feel free to just shoot it over to us. We'll be more than happy to work with you in any way that we can.
Sounds great. Thanks, BC.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody at DoSpace. We really appreciate the platform and the ability to collaborate with you. And just a reminder, we'll be back on June 22nd talking about PPP and how do I make sure I get my PPP forgiveness.
Yes.
And how do I make sure I'm eligible. So if you received the PPP funding, make sure you're on. If you know somebody that got that funding, make sure that they attend. We'll be able to, we're getting more information all the time.
Right.
And we'll have some help in how do you process this thing and how does all this make sense. So
right.
Again,
and then just to let them know too, Jim, there was some extensions on some of those dates where like up to 24 weeks. I think at one time it was 8 weeks or something. So anyway, we can talk about that on the 22nd. So join us on the 22nd and we'll give you all that information that you need to make sure that your PPP is forgiven.
Super.
All right.
Thanks, Elizabeth, and everybody at DoSpace. Really appreciate it.
Yes, thanks a lot. We'll see you guys. Have fun.